Sally Struthers. Personal genies groped at the first mite to discuss the people's choice, desire, content, and griddle cakes, golden purpose, purple aided gargantuan, disease ridden solace trot, deliver religious growing palace, discourse on yellow sandwiches parking in the garage. You are so important in your big sky, helicopter jumpers, the same as mine, girls twirl their hair and country men scret, marionettes and tang. I used to eat tang with a spoon straight from the bottle. Our minds were hands, our hands are minds, our hands are hands. World leaders bowed down before popcorn, fraudulent distress. The road seemed as if it would go nowhere. A burp tangent. A burp tangent is a very quick tangent that lasts as long as a burp. Then it is over. Observing the candy lion, dandelion, summer fluges, settings, Irish setters, giraffes, counterparts, countertops, freaks. The glitter round was puzzling. What exactly is a glitter round? No one really knew. The hardline truth is that a guard let down, added to juice bombing cradles, registered as such. That is supposed romantic life of the jazz musician, tossing and turning in their pillow wire vomit. Crash gestures, hip writhing and shooting the bird. But how was that done? Building a Roman nomenclature? Disney staff? The writers will really enjoy this one. Dark clubs, black clouds, dark hourglass. The reference point would be decisions made, telephone calls. They knew who you were before the gross indifference. A blaze of cartoons, laboratories, morning glories picked in honeysuckle, mansion, maison. The house in French happened to be the same as rocks crying in the afterlife of excursions warned. Warmth touched the heart. The days passed like lightning, removal. Foreign continent. Baxter was the dog's first name. Some men played an instrument that was unseen. I'll meet the Kong. Donner dawned on the Star Bureau. Jacques Cousteau. John the Conqueror. John the Conquistador. If you lived across the street, acorns, labels, rivals, distant guild, on the route to sunshine. I still see the hardworking drag queens sometimes riding on the train. Everything takes place on the train. Metro, boulot, dodo. There was something to be said about that. No one spoke up. Did they expect you to play that role? The squirrel was unveiled, treacherous hairline, peeing on the hard drive, the constant wash of faces. This was the same as removing the cyst from the cistern. Help my, help my, a gradual breakthrough. No one could comprehend the hurt inside, the cold, painstakingly shocking, staple-rooted, engendered scream. This reality was reason enough to muck up the trials of a wandering minstrel. The children in front of the story hid concisely. Conscience, gravy. A crowd formed in front of the staple. Sternoed the life of Riley. Who was Riley, and exactly what was his life? Well spoken for, well driven, well spoken for, the tap water was good. All of the minerals coated vinaigrette. Some others started off that way. Working in the same place, day after day. Hand that money over, Siegfried. Salted honorable mansion maison. Sif sucked her thumb and sang songs. She slept until a right good rock star time zone. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Gru had to wake her. Misery. Greetings. The bottom line was they never land was the cordial supple enchantment. Hi-Fi Kluben had this great system set up for news. Whoa. The common woes of commonplace folks, a garage guaranteed something. More than making nothing. 2 artists asked to pose, and they paid for it. The world was always so confusing, abusing the image, social obstruction, eraser magneto. Could I please come and play my heart out? The harp would sound good there. Cry your heart out would be more like it. Selling paintings, selling time, selling souls, selling pictures. The gesture took a little longer to meet those deadlines. Deadline. Thing dies at the end of the line. A primary account, mayonnaise. Some of the fair-tended goals were the answer to a deprimer. The words were often the same. The sentiment was null. Author's notes were disclaimers. Omari was in London, sitting backstage, completely agitated. Technical difficulties were experienced experiments on apples and apple sun. The discreet enamel caramel go ahead. There are not too many jobs in Denmark for black bottles. Oh, really, O. Henry? The endangered specialty would have to be greatly challenged, Howling Wolf. I thought that you could be like Howling Wolf. Being Howling Wolf would be like being John Malkovich in a Howling Wolf kind of way. Thirst. Freeloading is not welcome. Free jazz is not welcome. Self expression is unabridged. Goalie kept the ball in motion, a solid starving class. The motor turned. The sculptor, Coulter, Mallory. Rumpelstiltskin skinned the back of the tree, trying to lead the gorilla out of the picture is Golden Sunrise. Secret diving into large pools where grape leaves, covetous belly aches, Rasmussen the skiing coupled him. Creatures, maybe they don't understand you. A qualified attempt at gold digging, a valuable compendium of ice. They wanted to be security workers, making that money, shipping rods from the crevice, guarding the center of beer ingestion and digestion. Zorn told me how to clean that cycle real good. Paranoia is the whelp of the future sun-dried tomatoes. All of that fake shit must go. The sale was genuine. Making haste, making waste, sitting and being done up by the graduating class from Yale. They were caught up in writing the jokes for Letterman. Women be shopping. This phrase coined from the caption of baseness, he told the stories, Mr. Chappelle, grand-sighted insight for the incision. The sight was pleasing to behold. Cigarettes 10 at a time, the money situation was scarce. Gradual fail, wrinkled barbed wire. The argument about porn went on and on. These women were not happy to be doing that. Were you stoned when you did that? Stone had nothing to do with it. Even a crush was the pole sibling. Sibling pole taken an understatement for the Hun. Hair abolished money. The money looked like funny symbols, especially the watermark. Good intentions, good vibrations, good. Bad never entered the scene. Untouchable secrecy, scarification from boyfriend to neighbor. The commitment was not forthcoming. Serious ingrate, lator mitor, misspelling the thrilling nighttime vision. Cartridge, Cartwright. I remember my grandmother watching westerns. The westerns were boring unless I saw them from the beginning. The westerns were fun if realized in the beginning. Maybe that was the effect of the chile. The ginseng sported the less tire. Regions unknown, hyperclassic. Drugs were for the unimpressionable. Unimpressed and without the will to distill, distributing no. If words were treated as numbers, then the result would be scientific. That is the spoil of the fire brigade. Kill plus child equals apex of genuine solution. Berenstain times division equals Oglestein purpose, oil drum. Whirlwind of touch, ecstasy, grated girdle, teasing glass, both sides got along until the heart to heart brought on tears. Attraction has a lot to do with it. She kept opening her towel and looking into my eyes. I've seen all that before. The towel trick was banned by hindsight. The body will rot and become different. Forensic details hailed a cab. Autopsy in the morning. We can hysterically speculate the future. Sugar warning, abstinence, offensive villainy, happy ducks, throttle vestige, clothes pinched, a pen, pens, bond. So what happened last year? What is happening now? The smart ride ruined the whole trip. Over-intellectualized tantrum broke the caterer. Could you make me another Bloody Mary? Could you make me another Bloody Mary? Could you make me another Bloody Mary, please? Hit the brakes, showers downcast, sandals downtrodden, half laughter, the pitter-patter of 4 feet, distancing the hero from Druna's favorite position. The consciousness of the dream had me believe that the net was still intact. I referenced a dream inside of a dream. Money never changed the situation. If anything, the fate was ruined. Lennon talked about swordfish, or better yet, truffles. A world so devoid of any ranking or filing. Dealt pencil themes throughout, one step ahead, one step away, potted plant people, exorcism. Never was the pay enough to live on. Even $30 was enough. It was more than I had. A pet forum will be held tomorrow. Does he like the game more than life? Does she like the game more than you? Van Gogh did it. Virgins. Virgins always tell you that they are virgins. This one just happened to live in a really nice apartment. My boyfriend is so mean to me. This is Virgin Thought. Every time we met, she cried. Must have been the spanking. The bed was nice, clean sheets, opposite floor hugging, heat seeking device. The party in the room led to licking, blood in the bed, a river of semen under the covers. Thank God for reason. A house moving. They got the keys based on faith. The house was huge, more than 6 rooms for 4 people, allegory, moving, carrying heavy items, plants. The rubber tree was most appealing, laughing and pointing. No one ever wanted to complete the affair. A compliment would not be what you thought it was. Chucky, the killer clown on the bedpost, looking or his stun gun with absolute authority. Grafted, picking up things was a good time. Fortunately, the Pyrus was not Ginger. They did not want you there. A splendid disappearing act. Tooth decay becomes you with age. People were looking out for you, watching your back. The hole disappeared. Super Birdie, Albatross, Alcatraz. The yacht blared heavy metals, junkie spray. They were so quick to judge. Who was to say that living that way would not incite riots? Coins figured into the shelf. Each coin was like a compilation of days from my pocket to yours, from your pocket to mine. Pieces from Frankenstein's lair appeared in the dream. Please hold me once again. I was drawing on the floor. None of that mattered. The kiss on the cheek was almost too much to handle. A green brush climb by gesture. A gesture being plausible action for further notice. If the girl would come out of the TV, I'd probably run. These women had just given birth. I'll squirt you back. Oh, you will you? Will you? Others disappeared, unavailable forever. This contingency was follow up. Breastfeeding, breathalyzer. Music on the rise, computers on the breakdown. Your torture is funny to me. I guess that an imminent folded cave would starve the artifice. A wise voice fumbled out of the cavernous darkness and proved the situation. I do not want to see old people having sex. I am done with the fax machine, Faxicandi. A plastic overkill subjected the reunion to positively nothing. Treading of tails was never a forte. 40 ounces improved the situation, rocking plexiglass, scouring pad. Coke was never that interesting, sort of like holding up a bread and breakfast and then sleeping there. The things that you tell the hard headed stay forever. Hung up and hidden, the tortoise grew tired of walking upright and retreated back into his shell. There's something to be said about carrying one's house. Theaters come and go. When the play is finished, it's over. My soul goes out to you. My gold goes out to you. Done. You sparked the fire that turned the tide. Your cold shoulder, bargaining simpleton, desired effectiveness. One day I thought about those who died. There were a lot of them. A lexicon filled with diaries. A friend from church with advice about girls was murdered in a car in a field. The news is always shocking when a friend dies, but removal from the event makes the fairy tale nothing short of hummus. Hannah lost in a frozen lake. Switzerland claimed one of mine. We used to talk about rock climbing and exercise. Your back muscles are nice. Can you do one arm pull ups? That would be impossible. Consider hanging the stress that was taken out on the long arms. We laughed, ate candy. The janitor always seemed to know more than he really did. George Washington had a hole in his pants as he crossed the Delaware. A funny truth of fact, Boris always creeps back into the picture, especially when the Russians are mentioned. That night when Miles still vivid in my head, sometimes I see him going to school with a backpack on. His mother is holding his hand and he is growing. I don't belong here anymore. Even a reunion would not fix this faxi condi. The drain was shut. Work was an escape. Muscles were blooming again. Salad minuscule tender. The hive exploded. Archimedes embraced Majesticon tendencies. Budding conversation, both rancid and wild. The old egg smell shifted into nasal unknown. Telling those things closed the heart like a sail. Sometimes some things could not be fixed. All of these hidden behind the window like a jaguar worrying. Jaguars should not worry. That leads to too many collisions. The real deal was travel. Dangerous roads lie ahead for the white haired infringed on the firing range. Well, we all had dues to pay, a singer, a nail file, an airplane hangar. This shot together band could take over the world. Barefoot and playing, walking throughout the center, barefoot, declining. The French waitress quit the next day. I dreamt of dreadlocks and cooks with no teeth. Someone told you that it was okay to do the things that you thought you could get away with. That was not the ultimate in frustration. Thinking that it was okay never changed anything. The saga and the sequel were changed, rearranged, and dislocated. Tyrants never held order. Capturers of the extinct. The wind breezed by, gutting the gutter sewer snake. An exaggerated, testy, toasty turntable brought about nothing. Test tube kinder plaid. I'm not trying to provoke you. I'm trying to choke you. Spilled the beans, cuddled the roan, spelled the greatest league, the speechless tundra. That is why I draw. I said to the audible, pictures don't talk back. All I see in your eyes is blue. You're the one that makes me happy. I'm the one who cries. Even though it's kind of sappy, there's the blue in your eyes. The walls are paper thin. There is a sound I hear. Screaming is so disconcerting. An hour or so later, the tangerine. Telephone calls late at night. God, I hate techno. Stop telling me about those other guys. It does not impress me. Parsons and parakeets. Sheets, washed, tarnished targets, tarantulas, tarantellas. Ghost Town was the ultimate in frisbee talents. Tacit. Chapter 11. Inlet. The inlet to the inlay on the banter was a secret that the detective could not decorate. I guessed that the destined quarter was the first in a series of trust fund delights. Each nook and cranny had the pimply and peely running for their lives. The dangerous Genter, as the first to enter the Lord's chamber, was disgusted to hear that the read-only would not read at all. The state of being jailed the erudite seeking interest in the trust fund. Dealers wanted to suggest the price of quantity when there was none left. The quality qualified the driver to take the high road for granted. Some nonsense was the same as no nonsense when the trailer caught on fire. Dream number 15. Ghost highway with inclement toilet facilities starved the ferry sleeves. They got fairies living in those woods? Asked Grandpa. Mama Cass got too big for her britches and guessed that the reasoning would be the same as before. Three crushes held on tight. Throughout the history of the world, the crush still conquered the nation. Love, a backwards incantation rummaging in the mist of the feline. Do not cross the T's or dot the I's without an intention of adding hieroglyphics to the center. Stool pigeon, you'll rot in hell, yes you will. These comments were not welcome, be the welcoming committee. That was the new band insisting on the troublesome Esquire's metal tongue disease. If you stand next to him too long, the bibliothèque will harness a decision. That decision was not to be based lightly on the scourge. Numerous channels enchanted the deliver of grace and tales from underneath the bed. Cuddles, poodles, puddles of indignant clemency. The host of the tea party was asked to leave. The gross indifference in his voice was unbecoming. I'm becoming a little tipsy from the turning point in the freedom of caricature. The voice in his head was sold on the street like a pimp to chocolate-covered alligator pumps. Pompous pomp and circumstance licked the slate clean. Humans are pumps like nature willed their action to be. There was a gig on that Thursday with the boys. They always made sure that the money was good. I made a walloping $750 for playing for 1 hour. I played the saxophone through an effects unit. A lot of noise was made afterwards. Thoughts of Scandinavia ran through my head. I booked a trip to Denmark with the Indians. That would be $500. I paid for the ticket and drove to the airport. I arrived in Denmark with no money. There was a girl on the plane seated next to me. She knew some of the people that I played with, and we shared a cab to the place where I was to stay. My mother sometimes has people come into my house in Denmark. I left her at the 7-Eleven and went to her mother's house. Diddle and Bumble resided in the backyard. No one ever does anything for my mom. I mowed the lawn and sat on the sofa where I slept. There was an exhibition there. Toby and Death Nurse were at the party that I went to. From there, we hung out until I met a woman named Gru. After that point, we were in the same boat for a long time, having sex, eating lots of food, drowning in beer, sleeping for days. The second visit was marriage proposal. I can only do what I remember. October, Soundless Outrage. I heard that song at the studio for the 14th time. Disturbed in the bathroom, left graffiti on the pole outside. They wanted to pretend that everyone had soul. Good intentional freakdown. Good intentional freakdom. The forest was to the left of me, to the right was the highway. We want to go to the beach. A fragrant evil Absalom crept up behind the bumble and held it under arrest. Sif was there too. Ask was the demon child turned from small boy into Indigo Webster. Grouches and flavored chili sauce, vegetable warming poison, the mixture of poem and prose, were always determined to lose the odor promised in the salvaging of the new arthritic principle. Those preachers told speeches that encouraged the congregation to stay the same. 2 times the players across the world understood nothing. The gate was closed. Each author was famous at his own leisure. Pomp and circumstance. Science included the theater wedged in the humble pentagram. Each haircut, government issue, polished and waved from delight. Cordial meeting you here, Fancy Brady. Cordial meeting you here, Fancy Brady. The taste from the cruise missile had us at the torch wall. Vigilantes never gave up. The stair climber trying to emulate the first hour of the supposed flying tiger squadron. A meal and a tease. Hebraic. Those preachers told speeches that encouraged the congregation to stay the same. 2 times the players across the world understood nothing. The gate was closed. Each author was famous at his own leisure. Pomp and circumstance. Science included the theater wedged in the humble pentagram. Each haircut, government issue, polished and waved from delight. Cordial meeting you here, Fancy Brady. Cordial meeting you here, Fancy Brady. The taste from the cruise missile had us at the torch wall. Vigilantes never gave up. The stair climber trying to emulate the first hour of the supposed flying tiger squadron. A meal and a tease. Hebraic Communist Party solving the mystery inlaid and involved in the silent film industry. Chair lesson on the speaking fatherland. Mother, oh mother, could I please have the right tool for escaping the proper authorities? A pool of blood hidden under the carpet. A pool. Table hidden under the page listed Bureau of Investigation. A pool. Gene pool. There are a dozen secrets lifted from the castle, provided in the vestibule, gain placement in thunderstorm. I saw the folding chair and folded the third wanderer, listless and anxious to control the afterthought of civilization. The computer pulled up information that stopped the killer instinct enveloping the development complex. People considered the writer aspect as something that had to discover something that they did not. I chose to write in the perennial confusion that sufficed. Computers made the wig not. I chose to write in the perennial confusion that sufficed. Computers made the wig like that. Someone saw her at Wigstock. I saw her at the orderly's clinic that invested millions on the right side of the brain. They did not believe in the original bag of popcorn was only a breath away. Wasting time in the middle of the day, nothing more than wasting away in the salty desert. 10,000 deaths before you die. 10,000, 10. It was exactly what you wanted to see. 2 background singers and 1 on the way, practicing the thistle thirst pattern. So many defiant oil paintings found their way into the dish reserved for the taking. I appeared just to gas you. I appeared just to gas you into the right. The left was a word that I never comprehended. Most of the task was just to involve the caterpillar in justice. 3 songs later, we were on top of each other, writhing, spitting, realizing spring. Thoughtless condor, content pending, pseudo-intelligent gap in the teeth. Ordinary canary fondled the lifeless Congress, hastened to be deviled, beguiled, bank informant. A purple plague severed the rank and applauded the Gipper. One for the Gipper, two for the Guppy. Puzzles loaded, steam trellis. Upset the folded leaf from the side of the torn wall and finishing door. Did it really take that long for the harness to develop? The Trojan ignored the war long enough to divide the solstice. Forgive me for the interrogation. Manic depravity, numbers and such. Which way did the garter belt swing? When the leg of the gimp was replaced by the soundscape service, I received a phone call from absolutely no one. This made me the trio trump card pushed over the edge of the creamery. Cemeteries, Gothic exhibit, clone Seagram, a gram of the seed is worth much more than a gift horse whose mouth you would not stop looking into and developing film. All of the energy went into that one name band. One man standing in the crowded hallway, discovering the jewels, clean and sloppy for the 30th point of departure. Peak season and the slippery rock was discovered as ritual sandwich sauce. Describe that gun. No. The stock options were the tally taken for the green, supple, radical, indecent exposure fondle creature. Slide back into the youth of pregnant list. Artistic reverence kept the tool shed clear of all wasted vials and intangibles. Please look up the word in the dictionary if it is misunderstood. Commentary on the refrigerated pumpkin kin. Lazy tackle box. This was not the proper style incorporated by the solemn injustice tickled the wrong part of the bottom. Footloose cranium. That big one took her dress off and revealed the nice poignant ant farm. She swiftly incarcerated the local bilingual. Samyaki. The lungs were filled and the retreat was nigh. Listening to the forthcoming elevated motion was the alpaca envisioned with the granules positioned lightly in the heat-seeking substance. Distilled fortune is the studied vision of the psychopath living in the building across the street. Developed the first cancerous circuit, continuing to delving the babby. A purple cloth was laid across the table. Tablecloths in tabbouleh. Task force to struggling bear hug insisted on. Liquid scorcher of a mallet off the rise. Could you sample another of the guillotine's personal belongings? There was always the possibility that the orchard was the first kindle burning in the everlast. Opposites for opprobrium. This is just like ice cream, screamed the little boy in wonder. The applause was distant range over roller deck. Custom made, future is the cordial. All the rave in Yugoslavia. Number 2 pencils rolled off the bed and onto the floor. Doors opened, doors closed. Little harrowing fireflies helped the yogurt go down. Even less gear than before. The accumulation of guardrail, Minsky. Political fights only stare in the right direction, hovering high above the tattletale center of the Golden Dawn. Prove the story. Prove the story. I will not. Who asked the guardrail? Jumping the turnstile is like bulging too far the wrong way. This offered the glass chain goosebumps. Hightail it out of here. Should I come over, even when there is no answer on the phone? Should I break more buildings and move yours to mine, or should I stop reading? What to do? What to do? Should I lament deep into the night, give up midnight and go home, clean myself in the ocean? Should I dance downstairs in the bodega? Would you come? Should I build a satellite? Would I see you in space? You do that for me? Promise me, too. Oh, so frightened in not knowing the future, so enlightened when taken by the dentures. So enlightened when taken by the dentures, affairs between the two. Screaming in delight, the flight of rare birds and cakes, the rake taken in hand, taken aback and scoured. Left without power of attorney, words and phrases, the threat against us. Left without power of attorney, words and phrases, the threat against us, an asexual world. Girls for sale and love as well, transcendental mind spray. Wellspring of delight, face paint, guiltless seekers of heaven, a purity released in waves, crashing hearts, time elapsed. Not too easy to take. The anthem played from time to time, 4 times missing note for want of a person. Stepping into that was always the same, not serious enough to be reached. The bird chose to sit alone on the stoop for the vestibule. Talking like burning, burdened spirit from another place, a wandering seeker of happiness hard with a bar and whiskey. The red had him wondering if it were a trick or not. The fast ones, trimmers shook, love trimmers and unrelated cures, causeways to undertone, gangways to real life, a troubled sigh and the release of freedom. Still down Trojan more. Encompassing panic, troublesome troubleshooting, with the big wigs vying for money to live, a raunchy speech pattern. A forget me not, solid branching out into syllogism. All girls on delete for 3 weeks, for the sake of sanity, for the price of vanity, dastardly, overkill thrust hydrants into flashing lights, sunlight on stretchers in fair skin. She led me to her lair, never again. Too many questions, the future always known, asked about. How did those 50-year-olds make it? The harshness of the situation had us living like asexual art slaves, searching for the chemist clue to a new beginning. Being warnings from all sides, more questions. In your hair, in your hair are giraffes. Your nipples are the huts that has our ancestors. Your stomach is the lake that beads of sweat do make, traveling into your universe. Your spine is the river traveling into your horizon. Sunset thighs, iceberg eyes. The ocean is your mouth. You inhale, I exhale. Your toes, the fish, fit for a dish, eat and then into bed for sex with this landscape so divine, it's so divine. Rubbing and slapping behind, I have moon, forest, Everglades. Back to be reined and arched in pleasure. This pleasure can't be measured. All is all, is all, is all. Without all, what could there be but nothing? All or nothing. We could have it all, or settle for nothing. Life taking its toll on a fast moving half human, half beast. You are so lucky to have found one. Will you marry me? He asked her. She spat willfully at the side of the road, ridden through tundra and side streets. These words led to chaotic disarray and chaotic wonder, a system unconsidered but working one at a time. The hours float by, convincing that there is no such thing. These bonds notice that each tie is deeper than the other. Special kisses from pizza lips, observing the construction of environments, weavers of cobwebs, phones, and unknown conversations, drinks on the house again, old contact, new voice, a good shot before bed, confrontation, sleeping in front of lost episodes, nodes of the moon, Orion. Trying to piece it together, round versus round. Like boxing, this mismatch goes on without warning. New ideas in the cast. Test the worker, actor, drying by the paint can in search of something to believe in. Pretty strong words cast like stones onto the mobile home. Chapter 12. Bitters. Happy birthday songs are wrong with concise. Relative pans past the dark windows. Red rug make for trouble with girls waiting in the background. Ground beef, cow without legs. Compliments of the fifth grade. Whining compliments complaints for clamps and leather sandwich lunch that tastes like nothing. Imitation beating real life war. And confusion made the rules that Satan refused to make explicit. Without it, the blaxploitation would die, like kisses from pizza lips, observing the construction of environments, weavers of cobwebs, phones, and unknown conversations, drinks on the house again, old contact, new voice, a good shot before bed, confrontation, sleeping in front of lost episodes, nodes of the moon, Orion. Trying to piece it together, round versus round. Like boxing, this mismatch goes on without warning. New ideas in the cast. New ideas in the cast. Test the worker, actor, drying by the paint can in search of something to believe in. Pretty strong words cast like stones onto the mobile home. Chapter 12. Bitters. Happy birthday songs are wrong with concise. Relative pans past the dark windows. Red rug make for trouble with girls waiting in the background. Ground beef, cow without legs. Compliments of the fifth grade. Whining compliments complaints for clamps and leather sandwich lunch that tastes like nothing. Imitation beating real life war. And confusion made the rules that Satan refused to make explicit. Without it, the blaxploitation would die. Like the man on the radio said, it was just a thought that came via the press to send distress to the public. Listen and change. When those same people look at you with different eyes, wrongs or rights left unfinished like Japanese drawings in high school, remnants of falling off bridges, golden that leaf to no one, and everyone who is one reconsiders the touch that tried to erase the cleansed. Declination. Arrive at the juncture of chilled liquid cremation. A wrench thrown into the system, people are afraid to lose material objects that don't bring joy or pain, objects that just are. No one is alone. Everyone depends on someone. I choose not to live like you. I choose to stay in my head. I choose to stretch in the interim. I choose to leave the world. I choose, with the help of others, trailblazing, brazen hussy, followed home by stray, stripper took from my, takes from me, floating about in these double meanings, triumph over flips, savior divine. And the song lasted all day, not to be caught again like the principles of infinity. Treasures tried to reach the shore after being dumped off into the trough made by Secret Service trails. Paid $14 for drama at a place where nothing happens. Warnings from wise men follow the masters who appear in different forms. 2x4s, 2x4 equals 8. Right told of imaginary indifference, codified, lovely building of percussion, drum, saxophone, bass, guitar, voice, piano. Each a separate entity fed to the lions who lie and wait for the place of least resistance. Taking leave from some worlds that Guinness does not release from. Hired for other seasons other than the righteousness, not even darkness, just some sign of life. Some ridiculous ritual that pagans use, starting to forget the one, focusing on the little struggles, whereas the large picture is definite. The truth weighs more than stability allows. Economize those ties of poses that ask to exist with questions of, is this the way? Always for the sake of money. And those who gave up on beauty had beauty give up on them. Rest in peace, my other half that refused to follow. My deadened body, which was somehow hollow. My friend who refused to follow. Farewell, my friend sucked to hollow in those little cells where they sell things that don't belong to them like intellectual factories. Treason left, reasons acquitted. Random access led to the fairy lottery that he can still live off. Trampled underfoot, Santa put the Christ in Christopher Columbus, who stole and misused his name. Rich girls sit on my lap and hatch golden penis, dreams that chase you into paradise. Truly dejected, he stood at the stoop on his birthday. The future that was contemplated led to the wait. Waiting for the tides to wash up the treasure, take like a pirate. A record is record in time, telling the future. Set a scenario in your mind. For example, I am going to piss on this tree to my left. Pass the tree, or complete the scenario. This act will lead to more projects on a grander scale. Corruption in physical church changed the golden boy to solder, looking in on sadness collapsed in red-green hues of purple love. Tube, trains, dry clean, sepia, richer than trading applications, affiliations, transactions 1997. $537 million, system terrible, revenues, excellent rewards, New York, New World, chairman with money, multimedia contributions to worlds of introverted providers, telephone introduction to December 27 or 8, homework that companies that whorehouse wives with computers and services unknown. Philanthropists sent politics down rivers that completed the strain. Hawks like presidents that contemplate universities or rehearse the tiger bomb, perfectionist that rejects none other than fortunate priceless apples bitten, Benjamin Britten with galas and around the streets that bleed sesame locks that credit cards opened, looking for something, met Ayakoka, former not present, presented to press for agents and for time. Resolved in underwater inhabitants, scourge of reunited aftermath, physics followed with embarrassing words and uncurled fortresses of mansions and treacherous societies. Congratulations to foreign relations in gravy trains that purchased gold leaves, left behind chimes and chimeras, wandered far in between sheets like freaks who asked to be paid a large amount of money. 21's ghost written into shamanism, which musical structures fail to criticize, but guide through random predilection. Scorn of Caligula. Cease the sea of desire. Fire, fire with ether. Bronze with space. Trade knowledge for knowledge. Bass players in trees. Entreaty, treason to follow, incarcerated lovejoy, vermin vanished, rightful, ended well by Mary's well, very well, wonder in trains led to souls fed on ice, ready-made, stayed conditions that missions traded for pleasure. Dangerously forgiven in place du glace, palace du glace. Good humor men dressed in white like Piggly Wigglies danced jigs, got gigs, and ridged flex from too much exercise. Writhed inside pain famously. Chagrin hired with castanets and cast as stealing rituals from other sources, leading others astray in order to abuse more and consume more. Consume. Consummation reinvented, eye strain, come rain or shine. You can either represent the ugly or offer a solution. Tigress who chases Mylar toward lands of forgotten joy where the artificial choose to take away the beauty in exchange for the fake, other alter nothingness. Chased into the crest of waves which floated past concubines of woe, standing in smoke and blank stare handjob in corners where men rake their hands through their hair, waiting for conquest or the bathroom. Acre after acre of ochre led to okra seafood exchanged for R&B and I Ching changed on small mountains where hills spoke and kissed in utter beauty duty said smoke in corner or both duty said smoke in corner on booth waiting where hills spoke and kissed in utter beauty duty said smoke in corner on booth waiting for the next move that never came. Dancing woman whose expression wrought like iron, past leaves fallen in trees, get naked for the upcoming winter, charged with nectar. Pear mango liberation. Casual vendetta where Mandela provided water for those poor hearts that rang out in pain. Procedures procured fashion. Entreaties on the treaties that a fetus felt clean for. Obdurate. Obdurate during ringleaders wronged for 22 years of artistic pressure, given up children and impromptu dinners. Winters formed winters for castles of the material full of themselves with silver. Percentages and shogun prowess. Mixing traded for rents by capital meeting. Places and showers forecast on priceless journeys. Girls in beads, girls in beds, seeing red of which covers are made. I'll take that well done. Made to order in a complete of paint. Infatuated with golden Buddha past intelligent chicken and irate owner. Floundering in a base of basted bake. Brim trimmed in green along with seamless textures and taste buds. Repetition set apart to guide tongues to a crisp reward. Sensuous burrito spoon licked by relatives transferred into brave treasure islands. Wrongly done, the birds preserve the package deal pickle. Ransom set at cleanup, precisely prints founded on springs and mulberries, trees that absent-minded flew by with hesitation. Roundabout, conscious, round tree, fleeting appetite, true that, no diggity. Approached by priest, preacher of the night trading places with force fields. Chill set up by my sine wave, spine pummeled into back out through belly button, waiting to be touched by red mural in flaming caged wings, where pool is played for high stakes. Earthquake, for goodness sakes, the related. Families found in made over abstract paintings so easily done to tape would be futile. First means first, thirst means thirst. Sensuous burrito spoon licked by relatives transferred into grave treasure islands. Wrongly done, the birds preserved, the package still pickled. Ransom set at cleanup, precisely prints founded on springs and mulberries, trees that absent minded flew by with hesitation. Roundabout, conscious, brown tree, fleeting appetite, true that, no diggity. Approached by priest, preacher of the night, trading places with force fields. Chill set up by my sine wave, spine pummeled into back out through belly button, waiting to be touched by red mural in flaming caged wings, where pool is played for high stakes. Earthquake, for goodness sakes, the related. Families found in made over abstract paintings so easily done to tape would be futile. First means first, thirst means thirst, trust means trust, agape train, agape absurdity, true that, agape trust, trading words for nothing. Their worth in beer. Translated communication factors emblazoned on poles surrounded by a place that I have previously visited, rid of darkness in the time being, the time as being remote, the time as being followed closely into perdition, attrition begged for mercy. Stranger than that was remote control, ahead in the clouds. Inconsiderate would mean to not consider it, those things. Inconsiderate would mean to not considerate those things that led others to greatness. As love gets lost in inconsideration, the post generated boost of the trial leads to consideration of idle babble. The tortures of too much talking as the spirit leaves carnal and turns to transcendent. Toe to toe, the maniac slowly forgot all reason to love and was easily annoyed by consecrated stupidity. Visions of smashing walls and telling stories, truly gutless adventures, trends that covered ground through walking with black, dark angels, air conditioners falling from buildings, girls who work for archangels and Salinger salvage their best real smiles for outside. Transitions say that you can help it. Hollow people chasing money in any form. Calling for bland trash offered as reparation for traditional values. Since she left, there has been no other, not even bottles that promised with herbs or red hair. Incomprehensible hollowness that only gold standards would explain. Traded for mushrooms in soil that promised something unmentioned. Roundabout, fanciful journeys that told of wanderings and bribes to remain in sight. The toast warned that Caesar versus Pharaoh and hollow cheeks made for transplant from channel to channel. From television to reel, tapes of time, computer made flesh and organic. Childish worn and without privacy, the trial of supple grandeur finds passion outdated. No bribes accepted. Do not tip the reader. Vengeance on invisible forces led to ulcers and ignorance. The truth was found in a sedate loneliness of studying the reasons set forth. Calm the temptation to beg of someone's silence. Out of all the people I know, your absolute silence lends me a peaceful hand. Tarnished in Scotch tissue, even the dancing princess failed to recognize beauty. The ever present sick, so easy to find, left children out in the cold. Those hornbills failed to resume thought au gratin. Gratis. Gravity explained the future of resolution. Future plans were no more escapism, but to change current surroundings. Future plans were no more escapism, but to change current surroundings and wrench the retrospective arrested from composers who spoke through spirits and shamelessness. Backs turned towards those with hands extended and pleasures granted via Corbusier. Fearlessness led the way through gates, displayed transition silences. Grandpas had grand moan, greeted without grief and manifestations of tigers intoned to Prussic moment, movement, trains and heads parched in the wind, while Latino kids fed on future plans resembling the loss of family. These ideas must be caught in concrete imaginings, the sky taken as object and walls and buildings as intellectual space. Mention of these entities to be juxtaposed on another image. Theorists hurry to objectify this, but without the concept, all is lost. Physical activity brings about intellectual space. The warmth is lost in trails of the outdated transition of speaker to speaker, tangential ramblings toward alternate takes on supposition. Christian position turns life on its head, whereas Africa sees it as Esbus or Eshua, favorite trickster, Eshu issued the frontispiece. Gradual granules, force for guilt, Asha is Yoruba for amen. She said that I left a bitter taste in her mouth. Then she called my name as we made love. She did not want me to disclose her secret about her lover Baron. I felt as if I cheated on them all. There was Emily, who appeared while I was reading Zolan's A Love Affair. The train rode into space where we left off as if antilateral or people composed of antimatter. If the two opposed met each other, they would disappear in a big flash of light. The anti person and the person that easy to display works of art and stone carvings. Dordogne. Energy given to altered beasts who eat cream cheese and worry too much about what could make others happy. There was a bitter taste in her hair. She spoke of tofu. Taste tested the pumpernickel spread consisted of cobblestone on streets where princess strutted in front of store windows, dwelling on turf that surf boys mistook for galleries. The trains brought in for questioning, and the girls from California talked about sororities 3 times as fast as anything else. They rose to the occasion, but still kind of mean in their speech. Some people's origins did not allow them to go that far, deeper than most. Some people. Stares from those at bars with fingers wrapped around glasses filled with brown liquids, the messages backfiring, permanent loan ringing in that distance, and tenants from the past bother to ask questions after whole continents have been traversed. Was that your world? The question was asked, and some did not desire to work alone. Nothing was getting done fast. Rent was being paid. People were met as if to say, why don't we sit together in this bar and be comfortable with mediocrity? However, so much of it compared to other things or cities. Kissed girl on the mouth as inconsequential as holding revolver to an unsuspecting head. A truce was called with life forces in the divine. Trouble shooting until the last dream was realized. A bitter taste, eh? Dream. Admonishment, but still going. She was too young. This girl realized that the ritual of candles lit in dirt burned alongside those who made it, ostracized with the many, unable to function in any other way. The partiality of things rushed had no purpose. The deeper the playpen, the more intricate the wearing of the floorboard became. Those people appearing in the public eye were asked to make those same appearances over and over again. The trellis on hands and knees delivered speech about kids with 5 types of disorders. Another birthday marks the year since those Belgians were met. Gabriella Mistral. Gabriella was Argentine. Her husband was a composer. Trusting that trials be contained, the singer commented that once the shoes were off, the Californians would be asked to vegetarian luncheons where no stress was allowed. Sort of a hippie commune or vanilla maple tea that the boy with tight pants and blue tan shoes, matching hair served. Liqueurs. Fine liqueurs served from the Rainbow Room. Wine is to be tasted at dawn and at dusk. Pardon me. At those times when the daylight becomes dusk, evening, and night becomes night. The radical diversity's TV, Liza. The innovative left no room for restraint, juggling 3 professions at once, almost 4. just to get the point across. Yesterday, the city of lights for those willing to comply, the aristocratic gentlemen stepped toward the dancing baby and held her in their hands. Symptoms, other questions blocked the smell. Even Faye makes new revelations black and dark, like the obsequious or gate that separates the wailing demons who stand by the well for infinite amounts of pixels. The boy introduced himself as the blood clown bleeding and getting arrested. Could be Diamanda Galas. Sail on for this moment. I vote for Calas. Grand Street, second floor, above bodega with blinking lights. The continuous play of a conceptual music is like the balance between mind and physical. Reactions are taken into consideration and acted upon. Situations are created through assumptions and rules stated in the energy that the music produces. A walk in the trees. A change of environment occurs. An internal change occurs. The street begins to look different. Absinthe extract boils. Absinthe abstract boils. The brain inducing hallucinations and permanent different graves. Tractor trailer dust surrounded by sounds of sirens that creep into scenes. Resistance breeds all encompassing light, the plight of the poor. Visiting museums one day, each had a specific smell to accompany the art. Whole walls of miniature man morphing into furniture explain the degree of insanity that appeared when the perfume of two women from Europe passed, sending mist of golden purple roses wafting. Another gallery smelled of rotted meat, just gone bad, therefore not too pungent an odor. This added to the dark figures of men and women fading out of their scenic habitats. The war myth of a second floor space was the artificial sun radiating from the blotted fields of flowers and the pointillist seascapes. Robert De Niro used to come here a lot. They followed me through. A film about a black man trying to get in a bar, lost in a panic until meets friend from the past. Finney, yes! She followed him into the men's restroom where they appeared to be Degalas on the floor. Frustration bred cursing and wall splitting, open wound, words sometimes substituted for vagina. Two towers, two cities, plantations, platinum, and fate dealt with that last card. Lights blinking all around, pigeons fly down streets in operative diagonals. Treason set back for stalked girl who knew too much, sat next to Mamiya, and he invited the president to shave hands, who wore a private beeper metal detector that went off as bodyguards left like the murder of Caius. Caligula started growth by freedom through death, but caught up to him, a small price to pay for mass murder. Be reasonable, she retorted. Irrationality is the key to burdens too heavy to be carried. Lean on Me echoed on stereo in the deli. Sekou drove the fellas mad who owned the joint, keeping cool as things fall apart around you. That is rational mind strain, burnt creatures making life hard when wisdom was thrown out of the window. Getting fat was out of the question. They will pay to sit in front of you. Scorn crosses their mind, teeth gritting together. Caress led to dresses being undressed under duress. Trespassers violated in the first place. Roundabout Lovejoy toyed with mine. The tour began in the same place it ended, blended, incarcerated. Genus, phylum, plants, and fish tanks. Buildings and streets. Playing with someone could be the equivalent of walking down the street next to them. Playing with someone does not have to be musical. The twofold remark would have to be sensual paradigm. Religions led to hiding and truly abiding in him, heavy breathing leading to crying, and the smell turned from sweet to bitter. Articles published about men and their number of lovers. That looked pretty on the page, Mirabella. Sur la page cram packed, rolled sausage and all, complete with pastrami, eggplant, and borscht. Bugs Bunny starring with Michael Jordan in the cartoon hemisphere allotted to kids having fun. Limo ride led to ruin, run in with the German roommate who smoked too much. I think that life can't be taken too seriously. Really, let's fuck. So we did. Her labia were extra wide like little doors. Her breasts were like cups. Her lips were supple, supple to cuddle and cudgel. Her ass was relished. White panty tan line showing and top two. Red hair, 28. Dangerous with her crazy speech. We turned in after sunrise. Noticed the freckles that disappeared in the winter time. Nice toes, agreeable appetite, fixed crepes in the morning, then ran out as quickly as possible. Finishing school for girls, Dominique ran that New Orleans juice all over her hands, demanding that she talk to herself. I stared at her as if we were fucking. Oh, I love the way you're looking at me. The elements were in my favor, spoken highly of. It was time to play in a different barrel. The funk became increasingly strong. Stop it. Challenge of inane bullshit. Operative spy suit patient. Operative spy suit patent leather shoes, golden belly buttons. Those girls from New Orleans, few, Washington, D.C., sent letters from home, found in a club, like usual, trying to help friends who only deserved half as much for idle babbling. A walk through the trees. Sanity roosted like a chicken on the pedestal. Cool man koala, pool of blood for the party. The costumes were ready. Nipples pinched a cinch to be relieved. $5 for cranberry juice. Incorporated, incorporeal, and explanations of mysticism. Trying to be saved, they lost their souls to trade. An omen said not to do it. Opium led to banned experience. Chimera dreams and hilltops of lovejoy. Dawn, a bar, a female bar, and Joe Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do found its way back into knighthood. Solfege, less soulful than before. Panty soon to be son of Stanley or Claus or Stanislavski, moans heard dispersed through silence. Division. Baptized, segregated segue to higher learning. Burning in what? Hellfire. Did not believe in trampling the former champion in white balloons. Eyes hurt and dutifully closed and posed on rose-colored glasses. Bastards. Seeping into cesspool, walked upside down on Genet, round its ceiling. Joined by little girl who fell, but returned upright. Also flying as stand-in for Batman and Robin. Felt awful from falafel and wondering where the grand trickster intended this to go. Urban bop squad royalty surrounded by high-hammered sensuality, triviality. Seemed free at last until freedmen chose Fila as their number one room. Like the Kabbalah, there are words that are turned around, hold double meanings. Many Moisha's blessings be upon you all. A dance between your hips, gyrating speciality. Congruent lives, your mind as we spin the funk waltz. You entreat me with your thighs, rotating delight, now switch. Bitch can cook. Mama's the finest fried chicken in the East. It is still possible to walk alone after the dial tone has left. Trapped behind the iron gate, reprobated and searching for things. Treaties brought them to their knees where please baby please went another direction. Insurrection of the resurrection bypassed Lutheran doctrine. Communication with aliens, alien communication. Salsa merengue, the prowess of Mark Anthony. A room with leather strips that becomes tighter as it gets along. A couple enters the room and is surveyed by a camera. The truest trickster found himself tricked by himself in a place where he thought he would go. The township, garnished by frigid airs and tiger paws, turned ravenous after turns on the turntable. DJ Aftermath found booty shaking in a cool afterglow of troubled souls. Cream colored on phones to others looking for correction to the foresting business. Vines and trellises, delicious red encouragement. Zimmerman. photosynthesis, syndeshi, and other encouraging speeches. Foraging fun castles asked for training bras and bathroom stalls. Crazy horses, fire horses, turnstile gnaws, and policemen waiting for the train to come and move them all along slowly. Quick tune surrounded the dirty deed with movement like stop and go. Training bra outsides the other, pregnancy detected by mother, towers of consequence, enhanced trance feelings, feeding on survival of cooking, watching the kabuki, buto, budafuko, butafuko. The shutters to the blinds opened and closed quickly, burning in the flame of the candle, worrying and worrying after the moment left. Trying to live as close to that one way explosion as possible, rummaging through garbage in trade shows, tradesmen in Heineken, so many venues that the faces just become one and the same. This does not count. Everybody died last week, and tributes loomed through the skies. Bad or good, led to a life of plotting and crime, visiting holes and listening in on conversation that subliminally claimed genes. She spoke frankly and introduced death in a pool of blood. It read in her eyes backwards. Can I just see you on the subway, call your name, and hear the echo? Nicole, 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 Nicole. Can I just walk next to you, smell the incense in your hair? Can I just stop being me and crawl into you so that we stop missing persons? Nicole, what? That answering machine just ain't gonna get it. Can I just meet you underwater or on the right side of God or in the sun or not on the phone or in a field of sunflowers? You could see my head above the stalks. Now